winter sun rises over the Botswana desert as competitors get ready for the start of the 1997 Toyota 1000 Desert Race. It's round 4 of the National Off-Road Championship, organized by the Four-Wheel Drive Club of Southern Africa, and the biggest single annual sporting event in this neighboring state of South Africa. In the 200 class, Clayton Enslin had a comfortable lead, but in the 250s, André Maclachlan had only a 7-point cushion over Richard Manning. Alfie Cox was leading Errol Dalton by 9 in the open category.
Last year I had a very good ride here, had no problems. Consistency is the greatest thing in 1,000 kilometers, To keep up the pace for 1,000 kilometers is one thing, but to keep up there is another thing. You must be able to race 1,000 k's and be very consistent. So this time I'm lucky I'm starting first again. I've got all the fast guys behind me. I'm going to try and do exactly the same as last year. I'm going to just keep up there. I think after the first refuel or second refuel, I think then we'll start sorting ourselves out. And my bike's ready, I'm confident, and I'm sure we're going to have a good ride today, and tomorrow's going to be just as good.
So, first away is Vowles on his Antalex Dairy KTM, and as has become usual, great support from the local community. Richard Manning next on his Shell Yamaha, followed by Elmer Simons on the Shell Honda. Spectators love to see the start of a motorsport event, and with Quinton Milton and Alan Julian on their way, the time for... Among the bikers, it was legendary Alfie Cox on his AGA Panasonic KTM, who was on a charge, having started 8th and passed Richard Manning on his Shell Yamaha to take the lead on the road. Alan Julian on his Shell Honda had already moved up to 3rd on the road, ahead of Elmer Simons on another Shell Honda. Not far behind was Errol Dalton on yet another Shell Honda. The thick sand made conditions extremely difficult, and Alex Vowles on his Antalex Dairy KTM had fallen back to 6th on the road. Just how hard the bikers were going is clearly shown in this shot of Clayton Enslin on his Elna Fox Kawasaki 200. Reigning 200 class champion Rian van Niekerk on his AGA Panasonic Castrol KTM has had his work cut out so far this year, only scoring in the Jojo Tanks Barberspun 500 in March and lying 6th in the championship. Grant Bloomfield on his Shell Honda also needed a good result to improve on his 4th in the championship. He had Spencer Krill on a Yamaha hot on his heels. Willie Ireland on his Fuchs Lubricants Vryburg started 3rd last, but was making up as he sped along on his 600cc machine. He had already made up 5 places and was heading Jeremy Davies, making his off-road comeback on the Shell Honda after 2 years in Stanley Group N racing. To the bikes, and Alfie Cox was running away from the rest of the field on his AGA Panasonic KTM. Coming in to the second refueling point for the bikes, leading the 250 class and 2nd overall was André Maclachlan on his Shell Honda.
How's it going? All right. I just struggled to get past the cars. But otherwise it's all right. But they don't see you. The track's very tight.
Clayton Enslin on his Elna Fox Kawasaki had moved up from starting 7th to 3rd on the road and leading the 200 class. Another crazy shot, this time of Richard Manning on his Shell Yamaha, who was slowly going backwards in the field. Not that you would notice at this speed. Elmer Simons on his Shell Honda was just behind Enslin on the road and 2nd in class, while Marco Cavina was also making steady progress. Daryl Curtis was pulling out all the stops on his AGA Panasonic Castrol KTM and was lying 5th on the road at 3rd in the 250 class. This is Lance Trethewey on his Perry Yamaha coming in for a refuel stop, while lying 7th on the road and 4th in the 250 class. The fuel is marked for each rider and stored under supervision at about 80-kilometer intervals.
How's it going out there? It's nice. Good fun. Just the bushes are very close. Look at what my shirt looks like. Bushes are very, very close this year.
No time for a chat as the race goes on. Defending Toyota 1000 champion Alex Vowles on his Anthelex Dairy KTM is trying to make up from his sixth position in class. And that's a great shot of the Botswana desert. Reigning 200 champion Rian van Niekerk had some gearbox trouble on his AGA Panasonic Castrol KTM and couldn't change gears. This effectively put him out of the race. The racing was incredibly tight on certain sections of the route. Jeremy Davies, making a great comeback and moving through the field on his Shell Honda, had Spencer Krill on his Yamaha breathing down his neck, with Quinton Milton on a Kawasaki not far behind. Some sections of the route were very smooth and fast, allowing the quad and bike riders to really open up the throttle. Wayne Farmer on his Shell Honda was lying second in the 200 class, but way down the field on the road. Rudy Kavina on his Shimwell's Yamaha wasn't about to give in. With day one drawing to a close, second in the open class and ninth on the road was Grant Bloomfield on his Shell Honda. Marco Kavina was lying second in the 500 class, but the day didn't end well at all for his brother Rudy, who came off his Shimwell's Yamaha in a big way and dislocated his hip. Medical help was quickly at hand, but his race was over. After almost 500 kilometers at the end of the first day, it was no surprise to see Alfie Cox bringing his AGA Panasonic KTM home in first place overall, 9 minutes ahead of his nearest rival. Cox also led the open class, leading home Maclachlan, who was ahead in the 250 category, and Clayton Enslin, who was leading the 200 category. A good spread between the manufacturers in the top 10.
Yeah, the first section to the service point is absolute freeway, and then we forget about how difficult the second loop is. It's just they've had a lot of rain here and the bushes are hanging over, and it's just incredible. I mean, the road has become so narrow, and with the motorcycle handlebars, it sticks out into the bush. So you're getting hammered with the bushes all the time, and the actual terrain it's rough, and the second loop is definitely sorts the men out from the boys, I think.
Elmer Simons was about 10 minutes behind Maclachlan, second in the 250 class and charging, while Darryl Curtis had 6 minutes to make up on Simons. Marco Kavina was about a minute behind, but 22 behind Cox in the open class. Jeremy Davies was about 20 seconds behind Lance Trethui in the 250 class, but Grant Bloomfield had made up about 90 seconds on him on the road. Up ahead, though, things were happening.
What happened to you? Oh, the bike sees about 50 k's from you. Damn it.
Meanwhile, Gray Maclachlan on his Shell Honda had passed the stricken Cox, who had won all 3 races so far and was leading overall. With 75 kilometers to go, Darryl Curtis on his AGA Panasonic Castrol KTM, now up to second overall, was going as hard as he could, and even the odd excursion off the beaten track didn't detract him at all. Enslin on his Elna Fox FMF Racing Kawasaki was holding on to third overall and still leading the 200 class comfortably. Let's once again enjoy the sight of a great rider in action. Elmer Simons on his Shell Honda was having the best race of his season, now 4th overall. Jeremy Davies on his Shell Honda was also having a great ride, moving up through the field. He was enjoying being back in off-road racing. Grant Bloomfield on his Shell Honda had moved past Marco Kavina into the lead in the open category. But Kavina on his Shimwell's Yamaha was holding on to what could just turn out to be his best class finish of the season. Alex Vowles on his Anthelex Dairy KTM wasn't having a good race at all, the reigning class champion lying only 5th in the 250 class. Alan Julian on his Shell Honda was having an even worse race, losing time to Vowles all the time. Wayne Farmer on another Shell Honda was lying second in the 200 category, but an hour and a quarter behind class leader Clayton Ensland. But the race belonged to Graham Maclachlan, winning the first national off-road race of his career. This victory would open up a comfortable margin in the championship for Maclachlan. Darryl Curtis also got his best results of the season, and Honda dominated the manufacturer's battle.
Yeah, I rode hard today. When I saw Alfie break down, I just thought, well, this is my lucky day, and I just got on the gas and I rode as hard as I can for the whole day.